Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Hebraic Awakening. I am back from my trip to South Africa, and I just wanted to share some thoughts before I get into the rest of my trip. You know, a lot of us, we compare South Africa to America, especially those who have not been. However, there are those who have been and they like it, but they state that, I would rather stay in the West if I wanted to be in South Africa. And I think, that is such limited thinking, such narrow thinking. And I'm going to tell you why. So these are my personal thoughts as I visited South Africa and I saw it for myself. The first thing that came to my mind was wow, South Africa has really done a good job with merging modern living, right? The 21st century with their culture, their traditions, their language. And I think it's a great blend because when you visit South Africa, it really doesn't remind me personally of America. And again, I'm big into trauma. So a lot of us, many of us, most of us, all of us have experienced trauma, especially coming from the West. And I talk about this all the time, especially if you are a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade. Your view on life is a little bit different from everyone else's. It really is. We are a unique set of people with unique experiences that other people have never really experienced. Okay. And because I've traveled to various places, right, including Ghana, the Dominican Republic, Aruba, Curacao, the Bahamas, we Black Americans, North Americans, we're not even talking about South Americans, y'all. America is not just North America. And that's how narrow our viewpoint is. So when we visit places, we take our trauma, we take our experiences with us, and we gauge that country based on our experience, right? And our trauma and what the West has done to us, specifically North America, right? And I could do a whole Black history about how our people fled to various places to escape the type of racism that we were experiencing here in America after slavery. But I'm not going to do that. When I went to South Africa, I understand from studying for myself that the West has taken a lot from Africa. And so we're having a conversation, and this is the point I brought up. I said that, Africans, you know, on the continent, they are very laid back, right? They are not in a hurry, they take their time. And even though you are in South Africa, it's still the same type of vibe. Nobody is in a hurry. Everybody's still taking their time. Now, they are a little bit faster than Ghanaians, but nevertheless, they are very chilled, laid back. And I'm a people watcher. I like to watch mannerisms and everything. So I bring that up in my next video, what I thought about South Africans as a whole. So I'm looking at the way they build things, the way they are pretty much efficient. And people say, oh, it's because of the white people there. And I'm like, we really give white people all the credit, and we should not. Okay? Because Africans are laid back on the continent, they are not in a hurry to build and to mass produce the way that the West is. The West is in a hurry to build and to mass produce because they believe in capitalism. So time is money. right? So you can't take 5 and 6 months to close on a house. Time is money. So everything moves at a faster pace, even building structures, houses, communities, right? And so we're so used to a house being built like that, right? We're so used to things being moved at a faster pace. And I say that the West steals a lot of ideas from Africa, and the West is masters at mass production at a fast rate. So everything for me that you see in the West, it is because an idea has came from the continent and they mass produce it. We all know from history that our ideas are taken from us, right? We are killed for our ideas. I believe in South Africa, they even have 3D billboards, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it's on the continent. Now, you're not going to see it, right? Because the idea has not been stolen yet and mass produced over here in America. But when you see it over here in America, you're going to be like, well, how come the Africans are not, the Africans been doing it. They're just not in a hurry. And I'm not going to bring up the brother in, what is it, either Zanzibar or Zimbabwe, with the technology that doesn't need electricity and all of the things that he's going through, right? And the only reason that the West is not going to touch that type of technology is because they make a lot of money off of oil. But I'm gonna leave that alone. So when you come to different countries as a Black American, right, North American, you're going to have to leave your trauma right at the door. And this is why so many people are not thriving on the continent. They can't take the continent because they secretly are comparing the continent to America, and they really want America on the continent. I don't care what nobody say. I've listened and talked to so many people and heard so many stories of people coming back and how people went there and they swore that the Most High told them that they are supposed to go to Africa. And then they get there and oops, it's not what they thought. People blindly move. People have their own ideologies about what they think Africa should be instead of going there to learn, right? To enjoy, to embrace what it is today. And even though you may think how you think, right? Because I often the East continent of Africa to keep up with the modern world? Do you want people to continue to live primitively? That they are not supposed to advance, even though we know that Africans are the first to advance in history? That's why I say when I hear Black Americans speak, sometimes I'm like, yeah, we are so hurt and traumatized, and we don't know what we want, right? Because when you go over to another part of the continent that's not built up, you complain. Well, how come they got garbage everywhere? How come they can't move efficiently? You don't know what you want. And so instead of coming to the continent to enjoy it for what it is, and not to say that the continent cannot be improved, because everywhere on this earth can be improved. You need to go to enjoy and to embrace, and then to see how you can make a change responsibly without, turning your nose up and looking down on other people because of the way that they choose to live. And so for me, going to South Africa, white people didn't bother me. And that's a whole different topic that I want to hit. I think we're going to do a thing on the righteous view, but I want to hit that. South Africa is not the same as America. I am just so sorry, even with the white people. It's not the same. The energy is different. They know their history, both white and black. When we went to certain certain places, the apartheid museum, the prison, most of the people there were white people. Okay? And they were there learning. And you didn't pick up this energy that, oh, that's about, you know, when we were walking and, and interacting in South Africa, it's not a hatred that we find here in North America. Now, am I going to say that it's all roses? No, it is not. Because I believe that, white people in general, all across the world, believe that they are, somewhat superior to everyone else. I do believe that. I also believe that some white people understand that that is what they have been taught and they are trying hard to change the narrative. I believe that also. All right, so two things can be true at the same time. White people in general are taught that they are superior, yet white people are also understanding that they are not. And they are trying to change the narrative, just like we are trying to change the narrative with awakening to who we are. It doesn't matter if you're an Israelite or whatever you think you are, there's an awakening happening all across the world. But to compare South Africa to America is a grave mistake. You have to go for yourself. You have to see and talk to the people for yourself. So we talk to the people. And I sat and observed as we were having Shabbat in the park, and I'm looking at blacks and whites sitting under trees, having picnics, talking, laughing together. So I again, as we talk to the people, it's not a bed of roses, but they do not experience the amount of hatred that we seem to experience over here in North America. And I want to keep driving that home. Yes, when you go into their malls, you may see influences from Italy, British influence, but that's to be expected. And when I talk about Hebraic history, I'm like, in our own personal fellowship, in Midrash, I'm driving the point home. Hello, our tribes were placed along the sea. We did imports, exports, and trading. And we kept up with the modern world. As the world was advancing, we as Hebrews advanced with it. Right? When Yeshua came on the scene, it looked vastly different from the time of Moshe. So things progress, culture progress, language progresses, okay? Everything evolves. However, the word of Yah does not, and I'm a stickler for that. Culture can evolve, language can evolve, rituals, traditions can evolve, but Torah, the word of Yahweh, stays the same. So it is natural for things to evolve and it's natural for things to progress. And again, our Hebrew tribes did imports, exports, and they traded. Okay. And they had to keep up with the modern world. So just because you see South Africa, Rwanda, Nairobi, even Ghana is up and coming, Nigeria, Ethiopia, even though you see these places, looking more west to you Black Americans, they are keeping up with the modernization of the world. You cannot stay primitive and stuck. And as Black Americans, that's where we are. Physically, we are free, but mentally, we are stuck up here. And everywhere we go, we are stuck. And everywhere we go, we want people to be stuck with us. And I love us and I fight for us. However, the truth is the truth. And in order to heal, the truth must be told. We, as Black North Americans, we are traumatized, rightly so. We deal with bitterness, rightly so. But we must be healed. So as we navigate, as we travel back to what we consider home, we can't take our trauma with us. Hurt people hurt people. Well, I don't want to go over there and be with those white folks. Well, I don't want to go over there because it just looked like the West. Hurt people, and I talk about that, how our prefrontal cortex does not develop like it should. And with each generation, you see the decline of the way that we emotionally grow and the way that we learn things. And it's not because we're stupid, we're brilliant people. However, trauma shrinks that prefrontal cortex and keeps us from learning and thriving like we should. It keeps us from healing emotionally like we should. So before you make a judgment against places that you deem look Americanized, and because what you hear on the television and the internet, go visit for yourself. And again, South Africa is not for everybody. But to compare it, I just think that's a huge mistake. Okay. I am a stickler for Wakanda. Like Wakanda, and I know it's fictional, but Wakanda is Africa. And when you go and you see how they build and how they move and how they think, we are a brilliant people. We don't have to take everything from the West. And there's nothing wrong with being influenced by other cultures when it comes to building and techniques. It's okay. Even if you see the West doing something that is good and creative, it's okay to be like, you know what, I like that. Now show me how to do that. That will help. You know what I'm saying? In my land, in my country. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why I said trauma. Trauma keeps us from learning and growing emotionally, right? And learning how to use logic. We are super emotional people. Black Americans, I know Black people all over the world are emotional, but Black Americans, super emotional people. We run on emotions. We we don't use logic like we should. We over spiritualize a lot of things, and people get mad when I say that. I don't care because the proof is in the pudding, honey. The proof is in the way we live as a group of people and how we cannot unify. So the proof is there. All right. So before I get into the next videos about South Africa, don't start comparing South Africa to America. Enjoy what, I want to share, what the other ladies and rabbi that was with us want to share. Enjoy it. And again, South Africa is not for everybody, but don't compare it to your trauma. All right. All right. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.